Have you seen the Arizona Senate debate? I saw snippets of it on Twitter. I didn't see the whole thing.
Like on the border, I call him out on it because I'm always going to stick up for Arizona. Blake Masters, my opponent, on the other hand, has some beliefs that are just dangerous for Arizonans. He celebrated when Arizona enacted an abortion ban. And he wants a private...
My man is so fucking nervous right now, and also he looks like Lex Luthor from the old Superman movies. No, wait, he had hair in the old ones, didn't he? He looks like some kind of Lex Luthor.
Your Social Security, sending your savings to Wall Street. So, Ted, this is an important conversation.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's get things started. Senator, we'll start with you. Inflation is at generational highs. Could be going even higher considering OPEC's actions here this week regarding the crude production. Why are consumer prices so high? What have you done to address this issue?
Yeah, first of all, Ted, let me start by saying, as a kid, I remember my mom sitting at the kitchen table, with all the bills spread out with one of those giant calculators, trying to figure out, what bill is she going to pay? And it was really challenging for her. In that period of time, she could only put about $2.
Yeah, because she couldn't do the math because she's a woman.
$2 of gas in the car, at the time. So I know what people are going through, and I know it's hard. That's why I've worked to cut costs. Hey, when the Biden administration refused to increase oil and gas production, I told him he was wrong. And when prescription drugs are just skyrocketed and seniors can't afford it, I stood up to Big Pharma to cut costs. Now, my opponent, Blake Masters, the issue we have here is that this issue affects seniors more than anybody else, seniors that are on a fixed income. And my opponent, he wants to privatize Social Security. He said private accounts sending your earnings to Wall Street. I met this older gentleman in Parker not too long ago, and he came up to me and he said, hey, please do not take away my Social Security. I don't know what I will do. For however long I'm in the United States Senate, I'm going to protect your Social Security and Medicare. My opponent said he wants to cut the knot.
Man, I feel like I could really stir up the fucking debate scene in the politics. If you took all my skill and you put it in somebody else with a different name that didn't have, like, my reputation, going up there, I feel like you could drop some fucking bombs. I feel like you could have a good-ass time up there. I'd have a lot of fun.
And privatize your Social Security, sending your hard-earned dollars to Wall Street.
Blake Masters, 90 seconds. We're talking inflation here. Why is inflation? Why are consumer prices so high, and what would you do about it?
Let's be clear. The greatest threat to seniors' retirement today is the massive, crushing inflation that Joe Biden and Mark Kelly caused. And it's their fault. They caused it. 2 years ago, inflation was 1.5%. Now, in the greater Phoenix metro area, we are suffering from literally the worst inflation in the nation at 13%. Joe Biden's policies caused this, and those are policies that Mark Kelly in Washington...
I'm not enough of an econ expert, but do keep in mind, first of all, they'll never say which policies. Second of all, right now, I'm pretty sure that the inflation rate in the UK is like 10%. If the inflation was caused by Biden's policies, then why would there be a wave of inflation like everywhere else in the world right now, too? We all use different currencies. It's because there are other factors that cause inflation. It's not just a local thing. Maybe hold it real.
Has supported every single time. So look, first, they declared war on oil and gas. Well, what did they think was going to happen? When you declare war on oil and gas in a country that is still mostly powered by oil and gas, you think that's going to send the price of energy to the moon? Well, yeah, it did. They took gas from $2 to $6. Now they want a prize because it's back in the...
Where in America was gas $2 before the war in Ukraine? What? I think it just make up any number. Like, yeah, I remember when gas was actually free, and then we gave them some HIMARS, and now it's $50 a gallon.
$5. No, when you make energy too expensive, well, everything you need to live takes energy to make or to move. You make energy expensive, you get some inflation. That was the left hook. Well, the Democrats weren't done. Then they decided to print $6 trillion. They print and spent $6 trillion too quickly. The normal person understands that. PhD economists don't, apparently. Senators don't. But when you print $1 trillion, that makes every dollar in your wallet worth less and less. It sends prices at the supermarket skyrocketing. So no, they caused this crushing inflation, and it is ruining people's lives. I had parents come up to me 2 weeks ago at a campaign event. They said, Blake, we don't eat breakfast anymore. We drink coffee. We drink coffee so that we can afford to feed our kids breakfast. And that's on you, sir. This is the Joe Biden, Mark Kelly economy. I will put a stop to Joe Biden's crazy spending.
Mark Victor, 90 seconds. Inflation, what's going on?
Look, people are hurting right now. Inflation hurts the poor the worst. It's a tax on everything. Why is this happening? It's happening because of both the Republicans and the Democrats. It's their foolish economic policies. Look, don't confuse money with wealth. They're not the same thing. Wealth, that's what's produced and what's consumed. Printing and distributing money doesn't make us rich.
Why does this guy look like a fucking porn director? How is this what third parties are sending? You can't look like you can't be a politician and look like this. It's illegal.
Richer. Doubling the money supply doesn't make us twice as rich. Printing money results in more dollars to buy the same amount of goods, and that's what raises prices. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, both of them have been recklessly printing money. It's not just this administration. It's Bush, it's Obama, it's Trump, it's Biden. They have all increased spending. They have all increased the debt. The Republicans just had control of everything. They increased spending, they increased the debt. This has been exacerbated, by the way, by forced business closings during COVID. These are probably unconstitutional, but they messed up our supply chain and it contracted the number of goods. When you print more...
Okay. I've had enough of this. Where's that other Senate debate? Yeah, a loan shark in a clown suit. The Libertarian. I respect this passion, though. I have no respect for libertarians. Every fucking time I talk to these people, it's like I'm casting a hook into the retard lake. And I get the retard equivalent of like a boot or like a bunch of seaweed clumped against it every time. Like, these conversations are so fucking worthless. These people don't exist in reality. They don't exist in the real world. They're just so... No, they have no concept of economics at all. Like, no understanding at all. Man, fuck. Oh, God, it's so fucking tempting to be a fucking technocrat, dude. Holy shit. Oh, God, I'm not a technocrat, but oh my fucking God. Can you imagine if the head of research councils had debates to decide who got to be in charge, and you didn't have to have any knowledge whatsoever on physics to be in the physics department, or in chemistry to be in the chemistry department, or whatever? You could just go up there and start talking about like homeopathy or whatever, and that you just like you get to be there? Oh, God. Where was that other video? Back at it.
More money and throw it in the economy, and you reduce the supply of goods, what you get is out of control inflation. And no, you can't just pass more spending and call it the Inflation Reduction Act and think you are going to fix inflation. You know what fixes this? Free markets. That's what raises standards of living. We need to cut taxes. We need to cut spending. We need to cut regulation. We are stealing from future generations. It's obscene, it's immoral, and it needs to stop.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Mark Kelly, it sounds as if 45 seconds now for rebuttal. Right. From what you've heard, I heard that you caused this.
Well, 2.5 years ago, we went through something unprecedented. You know, COVID-19. Schools had to shut down. Businesses shut down. Across Arizona, we have 500,000 small businesses. You know, sometimes the federal government has to step in to save small business. You know, they have to step in to protect livelihoods. You know, my office, folks that work for me, you know, we're very active in helping small businesses like Tres Leches Cafe in Phoenix stay open, or Naughton's in Tucson. We've got to get our debt and deficit under control. That's why in the Inflation Reduction Act reduces the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars. At the same time,
I don't think the debt doesn't matter. Does the debt fucking no? The debt only matters if you're not America. America is the one country on earth where the debt doesn't matter at all because we are the global reserve currency. We have the US dollar as the global reserve currency. Nobody is ever going to call us on it. We can run up as much of a debt as we want. It's fine. It's as long as we're the world superpower, you know? Yeah, and our debt maintains hegemony. Yeah, as long as we owe money to other countries, they want to make sure that we're capable of paying it. They want us to be good you know, like loan recipients basically. They can't call us on it. Other smaller countries, they can't, but you know. And yeah, a lot of our debt is to ourselves as well, like internal debt between organizations and shit like that. Both are important, Handlebar. What happens if the dollar isn't the reserve currency? Well, the fact that the dollar is the reserve currency means that every country on earth has a vested interest in making sure that the American economy is doing well. Everybody does. Because if the American economy does poorly, it tanks the value. We aren't just another boat in the tide. We are the tide. You know, by being the global reserve currency, our economic health dictates the economic health of the world, which means that like we can do whatever we want, basically. Yes, I know AMD 7000 CPUs were released recently, and that means that what? I don't need it. It's fine. I won't be bottlenecking myself with my CPU or GPU. I'll be able to play any game that I want. It's all good. Please explain what being the global reserve currency actually means. Well, it's far more complicated than I fully understand, but as I understand it, it literally just means that we're like the unit of trade. Other currencies are evaluated in relation to the US dollar, and the US dollar is like the accepted default currency of exchange in international business. Meaning that it's a pivotal importance that it stays, yeah. And the petrodollar is another thing. It's like the petrodollar, it like relates to the, not an econ expert, you know, it's all good.
I was able to stand up to Big Pharma and cut the prescription drug costs for seniors, capping it at $2,000 a year, spread out over the year. This is something my opponent, Blake Masters, has opposed. Seniors are struggling. Social Security and prescription drugs hits them harder than anybody else. Okay. And my opponent, Blake Masters, wants to privatize their Social Security, sending that money to what?
We got 45 seconds here. The idea of printing money, you mentioned that. Was money? Did we not need money to be printed, considering the COVID pandemic that we were dealing with? That's what I'm hearing here.
Joe Biden is spending like a drunken sailor, and at every single opportunity, Mark Kelly just says yes. He can't say no to Chuck Schumer. He can't say no to Joe Biden. At least Senator Sinema stopped Build Back Better. My gosh, you were ready to vote for that. That would have just ruined our economy even worse. I know Senator Sinema caved on the Inflation Reduction Act, and I'm mad at her for that. But hey, isn't it interesting that you had to wonder which way she was going to vote? You never have to wonder which way Senator Kelly is going to vote, because any spending bill that Biden puts in front of him, he will sign. So yeah, we got the Inflation Reduction Act, and Mark Kelly was the deciding vote. He hired 87,000 new IRS agents. Mark Kelly voted to send stimulus checks to illegal aliens. He voted to send stimulus checks to, get this, violent felons sitting in jail. Is that a good use of taxpayer money? I don't think so. Think about that the next time you go to the grocery store and you can't afford to buy steak or eggs.
Let me get a quick response to that.
That's not true.
Which part?
Well, and a lot of it. But the IRS part, you know, we need folks in government to go after big businesses and the wealthiest Americans who try to cheat on their taxes, that have armies of accountants and lawyers.
Holy shit. It's over.
You know, that's the intention, you know, here, because if we can't collect taxes from the wealthiest Americans and the largest corporations that are cheating on their taxes, you know who pays? middle-class Americans pay.
He said it
But
himself.
that's-
He wants
but-
87,000 IRS
Hold on,
agents.
hold on for
You're
just a
gonna
second.
You're going to get a second.
Hold on.
So relax. So, you know, what he is proposing is a system that, you know, the little guy has to pay more. Middle-class Americans and working-class Americans. We need to make sure that big business, and it's pretty obvious when you look at the background of each of us.
Oh.
You know, with regards to, like, you know, things like, you know, ethics reform and corporate PAC money. I've never taken $1 of corporate PAC money my entire time in the last campaign and in office. So I'm never going to be standing up for big businesses. I'm going to be standing up for Arizona.
We need to stop you right there. All right. Again, respond.
Can I have 45?
Yes, you do.
The people of Arizona know that those 87,000 IRS agents that you're sicking on them, they're not just going after billionaires. They're not just going after big business. They're going to be auditing you. They're going to be auditing your small businesses this time next year. Senator Kelly voted for 87,000 new IRS.
Okay. Shouldn't we be paying our taxes? It's wild that, like, in the same breath, this guy will be like, we have a crime wave, like, people are committing crimes, Democrats are pro-crime, and then they're like, we can't have more IRS officers. That they might catch people doing tax crimes. Of course, the only crimes the Republican Party is actually concerned with are the kinds of crimes that poor people tend to commit and people of color. The crimes that the ultra-wealthy commit, they are completely in favor of.
IRS agents in the Inflation Reduction Act. But to do that, first he had to reject, there was an amendment, he rejected hiring 18,000 more Border Patrol agents. Mark Kelly said no to 18,000 more Border Patrol agents, but yes to 87,000 new IRS agents. That shows you what his priorities are. Mark Kelly left our southern border wide open, voted for all the trillions in spending that caused this massive inflation, and he thinks the fix is 87,000 new IRS agents. Something
Mark,
tells me that's not going to work out.
I want to get Mark in here for a second, then I want to get back to you.
Thank you, Ted. You know, I want to speak up on behalf of the drunken sailor, because drunken sailors, there's a limit to how much money a drunken sailor can spend. That isn't the problem here. The problem here is we don't have sound money anymore in our country. That's the reason.
Oh my God, the gold standard memes? Wait, fiat currency memes?
These guys are bickering about spending more and more and more money because there is no limit to how much our government can continue to print and spend. We need to get back to sound money again so the government can't continue to have no limit on their credit card. That's the problem with our economy. There are always things to spend more money on. There will be
reverting to the gold standard would crash the economy. Yes, it would immediately, reverting to the gold standard would immediately end the world at this point. Yes.
Never-ending list. Do we want to get a control on our economy? We need to get back to a free market and sound money.
Okay, Mark, go back. The idea of IRS agents over border agents.
Also, people don't understand. The only reason that the gold standard worked when it did is because a lot of people didn't get paid in currency. Back in those days, a lot of people either wouldn't get paid for their work because they were slaves or indentured servitudes, or they were just doing like village work. But also, oftentimes, like, they would just get paid in, like, ale or, like, barter economy shit, like grain or whatever. The gold standard would mean that the only currency you can exchange is literally directly representative of a physical amount of gold that exists within your country. Meaning that if, say, an ultra-wealthy person, like, hoarded up a bunch of gold, that would be currency no longer in the economy. It would no longer be circulating ever. There's only so much gold in the country. They would just hold on to it. Wacky stuff. You guys ever see Goldfinger? Remember? When he was going to nuke Fort Knox? I'm confused. What's the difference between that and billionaires sitting on currency already? Because more currency can be printed and it's not directly tied to the physical like presence of gold or the limits to ownership of gold, meaning that even if one person hoards a fuck ton of wealth, the economy can organically value like the worth of a currency based on its exchange within the circulating economy, which can't really happen in the same way with a gold standard. Yeah, Red Cascadian. They had to work around it back then, too. So even under the gold standard, fiat currency existed? Kind of. It was like a representative... It was a thing. It's complicated. I'm not an economist.
Well, you know, I've spent a lot of time on our southern border, and let me just say, it's a mess. It's a chaos. It's crisis after crisis. I worked in Washington to bring more Border Patrol agents to the state of Arizona. $1 billion for staffing and security and monitoring systems. So this premise that he's taken, voting against Border Patrol agents, I've worked hard to make sure we have the money so we have more Border Patrol agents on the ground, and that's what we have today. I've been strong on border security, and I've stood up to Democrats when they're wrong on this issue.
It sounds like
including, by the way,
yes,
including the president. You know, when the president decided he was going to do something dumb on this and change the rules,
Jesus.
you know, that would create a bigger crisis, you know, I told him he was wrong. So I pushed back on this administration multiple times, and I've got more money on the ground to increase Border Patrol staffing, technology, and where it makes sense, to build more barriers.
It sounds like he says you're cherry.
How many illegal immigrants coming through Arizona? Arizona, illegal immigrants. Numbers. Estimated 250,000 undocumented immigrants in Arizona. How many people live in Arizona? Arizona population. 7.1 million. So undocumented immigrants represent 1 out of 20, let's say 1/30th of the population, so about 3%. That's a pretty large amount. Though there are other states that have more.
Cherry picking here.
He voted against hiring 18,000 more Border Patrol agents and then said yes to 87,000 new IRS agents. I'm sure we're going to talk more about the border. I just want to ask one question. Sir, have you done everything in your power to secure our southern border?
I've been focused on the border since day one on this job.
And even like the left-wing candidate here has to be like, yeah, I'll secure the border. Because there's like no way. It's like how even like Biden or whatever has to be like, yeah, I'm super hard on crime.